Is marriage still a thing in 2024? Most of you probably think of it as an artifact. Nowadays maybe 1 out of 3 watching this will get there. But for our ancestors, it was the biggest spiritual transition that they had to get through in their lives. And they had to absolutely do so, otherwise we would not be here. Or if we would, we could not be any better than we are. Bastards will never recognize it. So why do we reject it with such a conviction? Because it's much easier to reject it than to decide making up for the failed relationship of our parents and deal with its consequences, to form a solid foundation where we can place our own relationship. Most people are too lazy these days to make such a decision and commit to it. Why would anyone pay for others' mistakes, even if those are our parents? No one wants to do that, so everyone tries to just play life safe. It leaves no option to have better or worse results than he as one. It's impossible to achieve something greater this way. But the very same people that reject marriage also tend to be surprised and worried about the demographic collapse that we or our children will have to face. We can also hear loud cries from women that complain about men. I could agree with them. Most of men have not matured enough to take care for their families, and they won't. But those of us that have already chosen to stay strong will have to take responsibility for all the bad things that are about to happen. Inevitable to happen. Whatever, let me step back for a moment, because I want to tell you a story. Story about a stranger that came from another world to show up at some random wedding. You are probably aware that all of the money people spend on their weddings are in most cases not wasted money, because they buy with the memories of this day that will influence the rest of their lives and indirectly cause more commitment in their relationships. If they fail here, failure will be projected to their marriage and everything about it. This is especially the woman's way of thinking. Imagine you being a bride at the wedding where there is just water and nothing else to drink, but not on purpose, like people too affected by alcohol make their weddings. It was not decided. It happened by a so-called accident, incident, name it. Your man, who you have just committed to living for better or worse, starts up by failing to organize something essential for guests that want to participate in this event of your life, no matter what was the actual reason for this. As you are turning from a woman to a wife, you are temporarily disabled to justify any failures of your man. If you still do, that relationship looks not that serious yet, because you have to trade your indulgence for his commitment. But when he is your winner and finally commits, in your eyes he will remain a one others will have to lose. And then he, Mr. Charismatic, shows up on the dance floor and with his miracle repairs the bad stuff that could play in people's heads. Because some of them actually did not come to take part in the event of your life, they came just to have fun, talk with some that they haven't seen for long, and get a free drinks. If they miss one of those, they will call the whole event shitty in their town. Don't forget about your role. You are just a bride, so you think about all of this from a different perspective. Will this one failure of your future spouse cause disappointment and affect the whole relationship that you just have decided to commit? Will you draw it in any future conflicts that are inevitable? I think that God, with his deed, didn't want to just make the guests that I have mentioned moments before drunk. I think that he wanted to take this away from you, future bride. Because now if you argue with your future spouse, you can choose your wedding. In fact, it kinda overturned what happened upside down. The Miracles event erases all the disappointment, replacing it with something wonderful. Not only God himself wanted to be a guest on our wedding, He made it even better on his behalf. Now whenever one spouse would spark an argument, the other one received a powerful weapon to stop it right away. God is present in our relationship, not just by us wanting His blessings. He came in person to show us and everyone we have invited His mighty presence. So now we will argue about this relationship that has got involved. But in fact, weddings have nothing to do with marriage. As you can see now, in its core it's nothing more but a promise between two matured people in the face of God that they are willing to spend their whole life together, and to do so for better or worse at this very moment when they vow at His mighty presence in front of each other that they are about to create something eternal, much bigger than both of them separately, meant to pass all the hardships that are just about to come. And the greatest wedding I can think of can make up for the lack of faith that God will see if they are keeping their promise or breaking it. Almost no one understands this crucial truth of marriage. In fact, the origin reason why people started to get married. If they just wanted to do a relationship their ways, why to promise anything in the face of God that does not exist? If your life is all about material things, why not just write some document that would cover the principles? How will you share your properties with the future spouse? Divisions of property made up front gain popularity nowadays. People are too concerned about the material world, so they set things up for their own convenience in the very beginning of relationship. If that would be something better than inviting God into the relationship of your life, why almost no one is doing this, and people for thousands of years just get married? Organic purpose of any relationship is to raise offspring that will survive in our world without getting divorced, as it damages the brains of the children. The damage hard to repair, as child is nothing more than its father and mother, plus God's inspiration at top of that. If both of them believe in God, they can't just break that promise and go their own way, as they realize God is always there to judge one that broke it. So baptize yourself and get married with our Lord. He currently offers you the lowest risk of divorce than any other religion. Only reason that this somehow doesn't work now is because we have turned away from God. We may not pay the price for this, but our children surely will. They will have to live in a world where all fundamentals to have a fulfilling life are collapsing. Anyway, making this moment perfect in other ways than being genuine in the face of God and future spouse is a very dumb idea, but most of people will never get it. They will live their lives with belief there is something wrong about their relationship, as it were fucked up from the start, when they couldn't drink with all the guests on their wedding instead of reflecting on the actual reasons why they have entered it. But with God we can offer something even to those people. It usually won't make a perfect solution, but it also costs us very little compared to the benefits that making even one more relationship meaningful, even if it had no fundamentals at the beginning. The satisfaction that it brings within is irreplaceable by any property, fame or power over someone that could be a threat to us. This is how I get it, and I can't stop sharing it with you. Why? Because I know there are people inspired by God that see this world as I do. As you have noticed, not many of them, but we were offered a world filled with such a people. Everyone can join it, and the ticket is very cheap if you compare its value to the fraction of the price that you are asked to pay. Almost nothing? You may join us. With every episode it will become more obvious to you that this is where you should go. It will happen sooner than you think. Anything I will share with you will make it more convincing.